I'm an antique collector and I found a Dybbuk box. I've been an antique collector for nearly 20 years. I've travelled to flea markets, estate sales, dark corners of forgotten storage units, always hunting for rare, unique finds that might tell a story, hold a trace of the past. But there are some pieces you don't find. They find you. One of those pieces showed up in my shop 3 weeks ago. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon, and I was just about to close up for the day when a middle-aged man walked in. He looked dishevelled, to say the least. His clothes were rumpled, dark circles pooled under his eyes, and he was carrying a box wrapped in a stained, worn cloth. He set it down on the counter in front of me without a word. "Can I help you with something?" I asked. The man didn't respond immediately, just stared at the box like he was hoping it might disappear. When he finally looked up, his eyes were wild, desperate. "You take antiques, right?" His voice was barely above a whisper, and he kept glancing around as if he expected someone or something to be watching him. I nodded, sensing that this interaction was going to be far from ordinary. "Take this and don't open it," he said, his voice dropping even lower. "Just take it. I can't have it any more. I'll pay you to keep it." Before I could say anything, he placed a few $100 bills on the counter, turned, and walked out into the rain without another word. I watched him go, confused but intrigued. I'd never had someone pay me to take an item before. Usually people are pretty attached to the pieces they bring in, telling me stories, giving me history. But this man? He'd practically thrown it at me, like it was a live grenade he couldn't wait to get rid of. Once he was gone, I inspected the box. It was small, made of dark wood and locked tight. There were symbols etched into the wood in a language I didn't recognize, and it gave off an odd smell, like sulphur and old incense. I don't know why, but just holding it made my skin crawl. That night, I couldn't get the box out of my head. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it, felt the weight of it in my hands. I tried to sleep, but it was no use. Around 3 a.m., I gave in to curiosity. I went back downstairs to my shop, grabbed a pair of gloves, and decided to take a closer look. The lock was rusty and brittle, so it didn't take much to snap it open. As soon as I did, a rush of cold air poured out, like the box was breathing. Inside were strange artifacts, a lock of hair, a faded photograph, what looked like dried herbs tied with twine, and a small vial of some dark, viscous liquid. But there was something else, something I couldn't see, but I could feel. It was like the room grew darker, colder. The shadows stretched longer, pulling toward the box. Then the whispers started. At first I thought it was just the wind outside, but no, this was different. The voices were faint but distinct, like 2 or 3 people murmuring just out of earshot. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but I could feel the anger, the hate, whatever was in that box. It was furious. I slammed the lid shut and locked it as best I could. I wanted to throw it in the trash or maybe bury it in the woods, but every time I thought about getting rid of it, something held me back, like a hand on my shoulder whispering, "Keep it." Over the next few days, things in the shop started to change. Objects would move on their own, just small things at first, a book falling off a shelf, a picture frame tipping over. But then it got worse. I'd find deep scratch marks on the floorboards around the box, as if something inside was trying to claw its way out. Once I came downstairs to find the lights flickering erratically, the room filled with that same sulphuric smell from the first night. The box was on the floor, even though I was sure I'd locked it in my display case. One night I heard shuffling footsteps in the shop, followed by a low, guttural growl. I rushed downstairs with a flashlight, heart pounding in my chest. The room was empty except for the box, now lying open on the floor. Everything that had been inside it was scattered around, and the photograph, it had changed. The figure in it, once just a shadowy outline, now had a face, and it was staring directly at me with hollow black eyes. I tried to return the box, even went looking for the man who'd dropped it off, but he was gone. The address he'd given me didn't exist. Desperate, I turned to the internet, typing in every keyword I could think of until I stumbled upon a term, Dybbuk box. I read about how these boxes were used to trap restless spirits, malevolent entities, but they came with a warning. Once opened, a Dybbuk would bind itself to whoever set it free. I could feel it now, wherever I went. A shadow just out of sight, a weight pressing on my chest every time I closed my eyes. I tried sealing the box again, using salt, sage, anything I could find online, but nothing worked. The whispers are louder now, the shadows darker. Last night I woke up with bruises around my neck like someone had tried to strangle me. I don't know how much longer I can hold on. I can feel it getting closer, see it in the corner of my eye, a shadow that's not quite human. It wants something, and I'm afraid that soon I won't be able to stop it from taking it. If you're reading this, consider it a warning. There are some things better left untouched. Some artifacts carry more than memories of the past. They carry darkness. And if you ever come across a box like mine, don't open it.